Only 7 months after I started training, I hit a massive plateau. Literally for 2 months, I could not increase the weight on almost any of my lifts. And I can almost guarantee that the same thing is gonna happen to you, because you're listening to these like hypertrophy, like Jeff Nippard, bodybuilder YouTubers, right? Hey bro, I'm Orpheus, a 15-year-old calisthenics athlete. I've done 40 kilo pull-ups, 60 kilo dips, learned the handstand push-up in a couple of days, a lot of other stuff. First, stop training like a bodybuilder. This is what everyone is doing, and it's not your fault at all, because this is literally all the content that's on YouTube, on like TikTok, on all social media right now. So you don't know what else you could do. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is training a bit more like powerlifters and prioritizing movements, right? So you're going to choose your priorities for movements. So that could be like, you should have 4 or 5 like exercises that are your priorities, right? And then you list them into like your first priority, which you'll train 3 times a week, your second priority, which you'll train 2 times a week, your third priority, which is like stuff you want on maintenance 1 time a week. You can also scrap the bottom priority if you have nothing on maintenance. And then you put what you're training into the days of the week. You choose how many days you rest, right? Let's say you put dips and then you train pull-ups with dips or something like that. And you figure out which days you train and make sure, you don't have like bench with bench, or make sure you don't like train push 3 days in a row or something like that. Make sure you have some chiller workouts, some harder workouts, and really just make sure it makes sense. Next is periodizing. This is splitting your training up into multiple periods like volume, strength, and central nervous system adaptation. This is also just adapting to whatever rep range you want to be doing, right? And why we have to do this is because your body gets kind of used to the stimulus that you give it, and so it'll stop making gains, essentially. If we switch the stimulus and give it something new, it'll force it to adapt in a different way, and so it'll kind of grow more muscle. If you see anyone hitting any insane PR, they've probably periodized. If you see anyone who's competing in like powerlifting, this is what they do. And to give a short explanation on how to periodize your training, I can talk for hours about this, but you firstly have a volume phase, right? These phases can last anywhere from 1 week up until like a month, 2 months, right? So you can kind of choose your phases. I like to do like kind of 2 weeks of each, sometimes 1 week, kind of depends. But you have your first phase, your volume phase. Here, you're going to be doing stuff like 4x8, let's say. If we're working generally towards lower reps, like 1 rep maxes or 3 rep maxes, we're going to be doing, for the first week, 4x8 reps at like an RPE of 7 or 8. So RPE means like rate of perceived exertion. That means if it's an RPE of 7 or 8, that's in reps in reserve, that's 3 or 2 reps in reserve. So you have your volume phase, right? So you have your top sets where you do 4x8 at RPE 7 or 8, and then you have like a accessory exercise, which is something like not the same movement, something different, but still really similar to the main movement. So that could be, let's say you're working on pull-ups, right? You do the pull-up, right? You do your top sets, whatever, normal pull-ups. And then your second exercise would be half lock pull-ups. So you go up, halfway, lock it out, go back down. Kind of like that. So that would be your accessory movement. And then on to my next point, you do less isolations. So we're only going to be doing about 1 isolation. And so if you're doing this on your like full pull-up day, right, you want to do, okay, you have your top sets, you have your accessory. Maybe you even have a secondary accessory. Like, let's say you do the half lock pull-ups, and then you go do some rows, and then you finish it off with 1 isolation. Something like that. After that is kind of a general strength phase where you're going to drop the reps down to like 3x5 or 3x6. Something like that is pretty normal, and you're going to be at around RPE 9. And after that strength phase, you're going to go into a bit more of a specific rep phase, right? If you're working towards 1 rep maxes, you'll train like around 3 reps, right? So you'll do something like 3 sets of 3, something like that, obviously at RPE 10. So not to failure, but 1 rep before failure. So you couldn't have done another rep. And then if you're working towards like, 8 rep maxes, you do some 8 reps, like you do RPE 10 of maybe 2 sets of 8, 3 sets of 8, something like that. So you can really accustom your body to the rep range you want to be working in. You're going to have built up a ton of fatigue after doing this training block, right? So this is 1 block of training. Then you take a deload, which is just an easy week. I'm sure you can find a guide on how to deload. And then after the deload, you can either test your like max for whatever you're working on, which can either be like 1 rep max, 5 rep max, 8 rep max, whatever you're working on, or you can just kind of repeat the block again. You can also do, like, you can mess with the length of the weeks. If you want to train more on, like, hypertrophy, for example, you could change the first, like, phase, the volume phase, to a little bit more of hypertrophy work. If you want to train more specifically, like, ultra specific for 1 rep maxes, you can just do, like, 2 weeks of the volume, 1 week of the strength, and then 1 week of the central nervous system adaptation, right? So this all depends on how you want to structure it. I know this seems really confusing. That's why I've made my like free community where I actually have a course specifically on how to periodize and how to build up your training, right? That's below for completely free. I can also coach you for free, so we can get you progressing even faster than just watching a couple YouTube videos. So that was the first point of not training like a bodybuilder. Next is literally not eating enough. This is a problem that everyone has, no matter if they're doing like bodybuilding or calisthenics, because obviously if you're watching this, you're young, right? And you're working out, you're going to school, you're doing so many things. You need to be eating enough to accommodate for that. And in general, when you're growing, you need to be eating enough. And then on top of that, you want to be like putting on muscle, putting on strength. For this, you need to be in a calorie surplus because this muscle won't come out of anywhere. And trust me, it's insanely hard to get fat. Only if you have some like history of like you could get fat really easily, then I really recommend you try eating more. How I personally did this to go from like 50 kilos when I started training to now when I'm 70 kilos. The first one is track protein, not calories. This is not something I did forever, right? I'm not gonna tell you I did this the whole time when I was training, but I think this is really valuable because it's just easier, right? Counting the protein is like, okay, I know, okay, 1 egg is 6 grams of protein, this, that. So it's pretty built into my head already. But counting calories, you need to have an app and all that. So count your protein because then you know also the quality of food you're getting in. If you're eating McDonald's, you're not gonna be getting much protein in. The second thing I did to eat more was having some consistent meals throughout the day. Like for me, I always have like a pretty massive omelet in the morning, like 6 or 7 eggs, and I also have a protein shake throughout the day. That's like my bare minimum. I never have less than that. So you need to find some regular meals that you always have. Another thing you can try is like having pre-meal meals, right? So now you're probably eating 3 meals a day, and then find that, okay, I have these like 3 meals, and then here I want to add an extra meal, here maybe add a meal. So you can just add in more meals, and then you can like, I don't know, eat more, obviously, right? And the thing after that is you adjust from there, right? If you're putting on fat, obviously eat less. If you're still skinny, eat a little bit more. Try the pre-meal meals. Try having a consistent thing every day. Like, this isn't something insanely difficult. You just need to dedicate a bit of your time to it. Find like stuff you enjoy eating. Ask ChatGPT what to cook. Do stuff like that, bro. It's so simple nowadays. Just go and figure it out. And the third mistake I see beginners making, this is not related to training, but bro, it affects training so much. Like, so you should anyways take it into account, right? This is not having a life outside of training. Anyone can look at your life and be like, wow, that is so boring. You need to have something in your life that like hypes you up to talk about it. For me, it's coaching people and doing YouTube, right? This thing, what I'm doing right now, and obviously working out as well. But those all go together. So you have to find something like that. So fix that for yourself, bro. Find something you like doing. Go find a hobby. Maybe you're already doing something. Maybe you thought of doing something. Just go ahead and try that out. And then you'll actually enjoy training because you're not running off of dopamine generators like social media and your phone and video games and stuff. You'll be running off of like relationships and like genuine happiness for, I don't know, going and working out or going on an adventure or whatever. These are the things I've done that I found have the highest ROI, like return on investment. You put in a little bit, but you get a ton. The first one is just talking to everyone, literally everywhere. This is mostly at the gym. Like, whenever I go to the gym, there's usually at least one person I know, and then I talk to them, whatever. And it's really cool, bro, when you have, like, a couple of people at the gym, you know, you talk to them about, like, oh, what are you training today? Maybe it doesn't seem interesting, but once you kind of build up that skill, it's so cool just to be able to talk to random people. you'll not only gain kind of an intelligence, but bro, other people are going through life at the same time as you, right? They're learning lessons, whatever, because they have a different life. And so you can kind of skip those like mistakes that they made just by listening to what they did. And then you're just learning, right? That's basically what learning is kind of like avoiding mistakes because you have so many options, right? And then they tell you, okay, try not to do that one. And you're like, okay, I won't do that one. I have 4 other options. You'll find out cool stuff, okay? And the second thing I want to talk about is do cool stuff. Just go on an adventure, go and explore, go travel, learn something new, learn something that was like in the back of your head, like you've been thinking about, like, oh, I kind of want to try, I don't know, playing guitar or something, and just go and try it out. Doing cool stuff has made me have so many, stories, like cool stories, obviously, that I tell people. Like the other week I went for like a 45-kilometer walk just around my city. I wanted to see if I can do 50,000 steps, right? And I ended up doing even more than that. And that was genuinely such a cool day. And that's a story I'm telling to quite a few people now. I met some cool people and it was just genuinely such a fun time. The last way to fix not having a life is hold yourself to a standard, right? Not some ridiculous standard, but have some things that you do like consistently. Have a pretty similar, like a wake up and sleep time. Obviously, that's like your circadian rhythm and your sleep will be better or whatever, but hold yourself to a standard. Also, go in the sun in the morning, for example. I found that helps me a lot. As well as lessen screen time, delete social media apps, do all that stuff. You're having fun listening, but you need to actually go and do these things yourself. I cannot do them for you, right? So let me recap quickly, and then you can go do whatever I talked about. So the biggest mistakes I've seen people make are number 1, training like a bodybuilder, number 2, not eating enough, and number 3, having absolutely zero life outside of training. Go and rewatch the video if you want. You probably remember something that like stuck in your head. Maybe you took notes, you probably didn't. But anyways, go and do something what I told you. So, see you bro, keep overloading.